Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sprinkle Some Love with a Cause by Trisha Mullin. Today we have Susan. Hi, Susan. How are you today?
I'm good.
Yeah, I couldn't pronounce your last name correctly. How do I say that again?
Stepanek.
Stepanek. Susan Stepanek. Welcome. I kind of want to let you guys know she suffers from gastroparesis or GP. I want her to kind of start off at her story where you noticed something wasn't quite right, or like when you kind of noticed something wasn't going on good with your body and you needed a little more help.
Great. My story, Trisha, is a little on the unusual side. Definitely not your traditional path to gastroparesis.
Okay.
Um, I'll start by saying in 2007, I was diagnosed as stage 1 esophageal cancer.
Oh.
And I was 48 years old and never smoked a day in my life, just a busy family life. We have 3 children, a traveling husband, a full life,
Okay.
and working. And I went to the doctor, they did a scope, and they found out that my esophagus was lacerated. So I wasn't keeping food down, dropping weight, and was having difficulty swallowing. So quickly, the doctor sent me to the University of Michigan.
Okay.
And we lived in the Fort Wayne, Indianapolis area then. And there was a new experimental procedure called a transhiatal pull-up. And they did not do it, where I live.
Okay.
And basically he said, if you don't do this procedure, you're going to die in less than 5 years. And I was 48. And my youngest was in high school. So it was a huge traumatic thing for our family.
Definitely. That's sad to hear, and like just to even grasp that,
Right.
within 5 years I won't be here.
Right.
So the next 5 years I'll be planning my way out.
Right. So, I cried the whole way home. And I thought, all right, I'm going to do this. So a month later, I went to the University of Michigan, and I had this transhiatal pull-up, which means they removed my esophagus. They pulled my stomach up, and my stomach sits next to my heart. And I have this lovely, nice little scar, my badge of honor. But they removed my flap.
Okay.
And so, when a normal person swallows, it's kind of like a gravity pull. Mine drops down. So
that's definitely
with all
different.
That being said, I joined the support group at U of M, and was off work a couple of years, and my daughter was in law school, and she basically was my angel, and she knows it. And she even backed up a semester, didn't graduate with her class on time to take care of me. Anyway, I get a little choked up when we talk about it. And anyway, I had to learn to self-dilate. A Maloney dilator would go down. She used to help me with that. So
Okay.
all that, and I would get the bile backing up into my throat.
Okay.
And it would sometimes flush into your nose and all that. And so that is the most brutal part of the surgery. I am on the Gastroparesis Diet. A few years later, I literally wasn't holding food down. Couldn't figure out why. I had been to multiple family doctors and, lung pulmonary specialists. I was having breathing problems, the whole bit, and I was vomiting 17 times a day.
17 pounds is an awful lot.
17 times a day vomiting. And I actually came across a great gastroenterologist here in Indianapolis, and she nailed it. She was like, all the bacteria was backing up. I wasn't having bowel movements. They couldn't get a successful colonoscopy because I was so dehydrated.
Okay.
And, it just kind of spiraled like you talk about all the time. And so she put me in the hospital. They hydrated me for days. And literally, she's like, you have gastroparesis. And, my whole family, we were like, what is that?
Right. What is gastroparesis? On top of all of this cancer, like you just did all of these operations to avoid that, and now you're telling me I've got some rare disease that does what?
Yeah, and she was telling me, excuse me, she's like, nobody really knows about it. It's the fastest growing, gastro issue in the country, and I had done all the dietary things right for the transhiatal pull-up. And, even the oncologist, the thoracic oncologist, he said, the Asian diet is the most healthy diet. You will have the most success. Well, grilled meats, fruits, vegetables, all that. And I was doing great. And then all of a sudden, wham, this whole gastroparesis, the food started to build in my stomach. So I went to the hospital. They pumped my stomach, removed all the food from my stomach, and I basically started on a regimen with the gastro, and she has been amazing. And I took the amend. I have been blessed enough, or lucky, whatever you want to call it. A shout out to my husband. He has always seen that I have what I need. And he did not, we were just married 40 years. He did not bank on having this path.
Right.
And, so anyway.
But he's still there, and that's the important part. Through all of those trials and tribulations that you've endured, he has stuck by your side regardless. And that's true love right there.
And I mean, you really do need that.
Yes, a good support system is always important, to anything. So during your trials and tribulations, did you ever find yourself depressed or have like extreme high anxiety through any of this?
No, not really. I'm a pretty calm person, and I'm motivated where I can't believe, this stage 1 esophageal cancer happened to me. And so I was always determined, I'm going to do this, I'm going to see it through, and life is going to be what it is. So, with that being said, I basically, moved on. The gastro, she was like, here's the Gastroparesis Diet. Indiana University is a little old school with some of the gastro things. They wanted to put in a feeding tube.
Okay.
And I was completely anti that. I was like, I can do this on my own. I can fix it. Well, Trisha, I couldn't fix it. I couldn't do it on my own.
Okay, so you ended up agreeing to finally have the feeding tube?
So I did not. My doctor, my gastro, Dr. Stevenson, she sent me to Cleveland Clinic, and I joined the gut and rehabilitation program with Dr. Kirby and Dr. Klein.
Okay.
And you'll see a lot of Dr. Klein's information on Facebook and everything. And he basically, with the dietitian, we strictly stick to the diet. And stomach started flowing after they cleared it, and it was amazing. And so basically, the Cleveland Clinic, the gut and rehabilitation, I was so dehydrated, they put me on the Gatorade 2 with a teaspoon of iodized salt. Okay. I drank 48 ounces a day. I said, I don't want to do the feeding tube if I don't have to. And literally, I stuck to the diet, drank the Gatorade, and I hydrated myself.
And that helped gain weight, or like what did you see as the full effect of that? Were you able to stop vomiting? Like what changed for you?
The vomiting completely stopped. They removed my gallbladder, and I had only 15% of functioning left of my gallbladder. It was just spilling poison into my stomach, but I had one gallbladder scan, ultrasound, one after the other, over a year. Nothing never showed. And then I had this Hydra scan, and boom, the gallbladder came out the next day. But I was a year into this by the time we could ever find it.
So your gallbladder was also bad, is what they determined, and then they removed that. So now at this point, your stomach has already been relocated because your esophagus has been removed.
Right.
And now your gallbladder is getting removed. So,
Correct.
And you're having issues still being able to go number 2 because of the gastroparesis is affecting
Correct.
the full system, not just the stomach. So at this point in your life, that's a struggle, definitely.
Right.
Did you
Right.
continue to struggle with any liver or pancreas issues now because of everything as well, or was your liver and pancreas able to keep up?
Yeah, no, I really didn't. And I would see gastro every 4 months, and my gastroparesis diet is I have no red meat. I have not had any red meat in about 6 years.
Okay, so what meats do you eat?
I have a lot of chicken. I have a lot of fruits, a lot of vegetables. I hydrate. I do infusion from the cancer center every 2 weeks.
Okay.
And like I said, the insurance, my husband's employed for General Motors, and the insurance is Blue Cross Blue Shield from Michigan. I find that the Michigan policy is much better than Indiana. And it has been life-saving. It has covered everything I've done, and, without hesitation.
Yes, Blue Cross Blue Shield is one of the best.
We pay a lot for the insurance, and that's been the sacrifice of our family.
Definitely. Blue Cross Blue Shield is not cheap, but it also is one of the best. And when you're suffering with multiple diseases, to have the best is very important, because if you save money on other insurances, you're going to actually pay way more co-fees in the long run than just going out of pocket and doing the Blue Cross if it's something that is going to be used on a consistent basis to the levels and extreme of what you had to go through. Blue Cross Blue Shield is always, I definitely for Michigan, is a go-to. My husband's mother had it, and when she was suffering from a lot of issues, Blue Cross Blue Shield was wonderful for her and helped. I don't have Blue Cross myself, I've never have, so I don't have a personal experience with them. But I definitely would recommend them if you could in Michigan for people with GP that are, paying out of pocket for so many services and so many treatments.
Right. I 100% agree. And, that was kind of the situation, and I did really well for a couple of years. And then I saw Dr. Kirby at Cleveland Clinic again, and he was like, water, fluids, food is building. So once again, they removed the food from my stomach. They wanted me to do it on my own, and it just came clear that I could not do it on my own. And so I took the amend for the movement of the stomach and for vomiting, nausea. I take Zofran still today. But the amend, it's a cancer drug, chemotherapy drug, but they find that it works really well for the world of gastroparesis.
Really? That's
Yes.
that's something
But,
new I'm coming across. I definitely would like to look more into that. So what are the
well,
benefits that you felt? What are the upsides and what are the downsides? Let's hear that.
well, yeah, the amend is $4,000 a month. Dr. Stevenson gave it to me in the hospital. She said, "You will not go home with this." And I said, "Well, so what happens?" And literally one of the people said, "Your insurance agreed to it," which was the Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. And I said, "Oh my God, wow." And so I took it for a whole year. And I went to Sam's Club, had it filled, because they're the only ones that would bring it in.
Okay.
And so it's very hard to get. So, I said to Dr. Stevenson, I said, "Why do so many gastroparesis patients find themselves in the hospital of stints 4 to 6 times a year? Why does that happen?" And she said, basically, because what they will pump through the IV is the amend, but no one goes home with it. She said, "I have 8,000 patients, and any of my gastroparesis patients, you're the only one that has ever gone home with the medication."
Okay, and that's due because of your qualifications from the cancer qualify you to still be eligible for that med?
I don't think so, because
Is there like a prior authorization or something special? Like,
there was.
okay,
Yes, there was. So they never said that to me, whether I was eligible, because of the previous cancer. Never knew that, but they just said that, yeah, insurance said they would cover it.
okay,
So not only was the doctor shocked, I was shocked.
right,
But it worked great. And the doctor said, "It's an open-ended an account, and if you ever need it again, we won't have to go and retrieve it and get all the approvals. We'll have an open pharmacy."
okay,
And I was like, okay. So I took it this whole year. I ended the year with like 20 left. And I was like, I feel really guilty, it's going to be out of date soon. So I gave it back to the doctor, and she redistributed it with some other patients that don't have insurance.
Oh, that was very nice.
Yeah, and so I felt pretty good about that. And I was like, I just don't want this to go to waste. This whole gastroparesis thing is just so overwhelming for everybody.
It is, and I've never heard of someone getting a cancer medication for the treatment
Yes.
of it. Now, I've done chemo medications for like my thyroid and lupus, but not for GP. So I am interested to hear a little more about how that worked and like how it's been able to help you get rid of the food out of your stomach and be able to process it, correctly. That's some good knowledge right there that I really can't speak on yet because I'm not really aware, but I'm interested for sure, and I'm definitely happy to help bring awareness to this because I'm not even aware, and to know that it helped you on top of everything else you went through is magnificent. And I know there's so many other girls out there that could use that magnificent information, and that they're just looking for what's next. And honestly, we really haven't heard what's next, and maybe that could be what's next and more generalized. Like if it's working for these categories of patients that are severe, that's the category of people that right now are looking for what's next that don't have something that's next. And if that's been proven to already work and we have current GP patients receiving the treatment, why can't other GP patients receive that same treatment out of her X amount of patients? Why, I know that you're blessed, but like others should also be able to get that service. And sorry, my throat.
Right.
But yeah,
Exactly.
I really want to be able to get that service to others and figure out what other doctors are able to provide that service. And now that they're aware of this, are they gonna start allowing some of this more severe patients to get that prior authorization? And a prior authorization, for those of you who don't know what that is a letter from your doctor that sends to the insurance company that says, this patient has tried treatment option A, B, C, and D that our book requires them to try, and all has failed. And if this patient doesn't receive another treatment option, like we're going to try whatever we're actually asking for the prior authorization for, a said medication, then I think a said medication will help, but it's not covered under patient's insurance. If the prior authorization between the insurance company and the doctor, if the insurance company sees you've tried everything else, the next option would be like a surgery or these other things, which you're against doing those, then at this point the doctor has to stay within the patient's treatment, what the patient's willing to do for treatment. And as you're self-advocating for yourself and what you're saying you will and won't do. Well, then they find a form of a treatment plan that may work, and it's kind of like a test option. So the insurance company will say, okay, fine, and then they'll approve it for X amount of time. And during that X amount of time, the doctor would have to show data that the patient is actually profiting from this, and this is actually now working for the patient, and that this option is cheaper than whatever surgery or whatever other options would be available for that patient. And then the insurance company will agree. So at this point, the insurance company is agreeing that this is working for you and that you have like an unlimited caption. So that's happened with me before on a medication as well. Like for Zoladex, when you do or Lupron, when you do those injections for endometriosis or adenomyosis, you have to get a prior authorization because they're $2,000 a month, and the insurance company doesn't want to pay for those unless it's absolutely necessary. And when you do it for 3 months or 6 months at a time, sometimes 9 months at a time. So that's a big length of money to get those captions on. So that's why the insurance company wants to have like a conversation with the doctor, because the amount of money that we're about to spend on your treatment, I need to know, have you tried like these other options, or is this your first go-to? And if you've tried those other options, then you generally will get approved. Generally, severe patients have tried everything, so all prior authorizations generally work for severe patients because they've tried A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, like everything possible. So we're at a point of what could be next. And that's where prior authorizations come in. So if it's not covered under your insurance, ask about that and see if your doctor can fill one of those out and see if your insurance company would accept it, because had you and your doctor not been aware of that, you wouldn't have got it covered and you wouldn't have discovered this magnificent treatment, in all states, like not just Michigan. That prior authorization is with all states. Every state has the option to do that. And some doctors just don't do it if they don't feel that they want to do your treatment plan. So I'd get a new doctor at that point.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Yes.
You cannot stop searching. You cannot just take palliative care as it's acceptable. You need to keep fighting. I ran across, when I was at the gastro at Indiana University Medical School, there was a young gal, like 20 years old, if that, and she was getting a feeding tube. She was sitting there talking to me. The doctor, was running late, and she was asking me about my story. And so I told her, and she was like, she went up to the desk and said, "Can I have some paper and pen?" And she had her phone out taking notes.
Yeah.
And I said, you feel awful. You have no energy. You're dehydrated, and you can hardly go. But I said, you have to keep fighting because you're looking for answers. And there are amazing doctors out there, very progressive doctors. But there are the opposite of that as well. Yes. And, so I have been lucky enough. I've been to the University of Michigan and Cleveland Clinic. And so after all this happened and I took the amend for a year, it basically, between the brain and the gut, it kind of synced in that somehow and stopped the vomiting and started movement of the stomach.
Could it have repaired your vagus nerve?
Gastro said no. But
so you did have it looked into?
Yes.
Okay.
And, here is the other part, or the most recent part of my my journey is basically I was getting sick again, and Castro said, let's send you back to Cleveland Clinic. I came across from Dr. Kirby, Donald Kirby, an experimental procedure again called the POP surgery that Dr. Rodriguez was heading up this whole department. So
Okay.
I went for a consultation, and he said, yeah, we've done 12 of these. And I was like, oh man. And I said, so I'm going to be number 13. I said, have you done a transidal pull-up POP? Nope. You'll be the first. And I was in a complete panic about that.
Yeah, you never want to hear that you're the guinea pig when you're about to go under. And like we already feel like the guinea pig, but now you're identifying the fact that I am, and I'm the first guinea pig at that. It's not like we're on our fourth guinea pig and maybe the first 3 went wrong. We're going to determine what will actually go right or wrong with me. And I've already got enough wrong stuff that's fearful.
Right.
Like, I'm here because I need help, not because I want to be possibly a 50-50 help. You know, you might come out worser than you went in, or you might come out on the top and just running.
Well, yeah, those were my choices.
Yeah.
And I talked to my family, and they said, Mom, you're not feeling well. What do you have to lose? You've come this far.
So they encouraged you to go forth.
100% in favor. Mom, you've always chosen the progressive route with this medical stuff. You've been doing this 15 years. Let's go for it. So I did. And in December of 2019, literally before the pandemic, and the POP surgery, you can Google it. I don't want to, destroy how to pronounce it.
Okay, I have no idea how to either, so I won't even try.
Yeah, and so basically Indiana University said, we do that surgery here.
What does that surgery consist of, for those of you who have no idea what that is? Like, what is being done? What's actually being surgically operated on?
Basically, for me, which I remember my stomach is up in my chest, they are going to put an incision at the base of my stomach, route around my digestive system, and food will continue to drop out.
So they're going to reroute some more stuff in there, it sounds like.
Right.
But they're adding their own route. But what are they using when they add? Because they're not taking from you to add to you. So are they adding like a foreign object in you to make that new route?
Yes, and I refuse the mesh. But so everything, it's like a tubing, and they said we'll connect it to your bowel, and you'll flow. So I was like, okay. The downfall of it all is, for me, it increased the bile in the short term.
Okay.
And with a traditional gastroparesis patient, may not have that. And so I took Carafate, and I was drinking that like no tomorrow, and and nothing acidic to eat of any kind.
Okay.
So
another diet yet again, constantly switching these diets to see which one for this phase of life will be my new food of choice. That's hard.
So, spring of, 2020 comes, and, we're in the midst of pandemic. I talked to Dr. Rodriguez, via the Cleveland Clinic portal, talked to the dietitian, the whole bit. Literally, Trisha, I'm doing great. And stomach's flowing. He said, test out, push the limits of your diet. And I said, well, I don't want to have pain. I don't want to have an issue. He was like, go for it. Do it. I gained 40 pounds.
Lord, 40?
40.
Okay.
And so, it's I get polyps a lot in the colonoscopy, or in the colon. So I have colonoscopies every 2 years from Cleveland Clinic.
Those suck.
And
I've had a couple. Those are hard. They deplete you.
Yes.
And when you have to do a colonoscopy, like
Yes.
the amount that they want you to be able to poop before they do the procedure, like it's crazy. Like I couldn't make it through even drinking the stuff to continue it. Like it was so nasty. They had like multiple flavors. What flavor, like what prescription, what are you receiving before you do your colonoscopy? Is it like a liquid or a powder? Is it like a huge laundry container looking thing? Like what's working for you?
Well, since my motility is so slow, I do 2 jugs that go lightly over 3 days. And I do, the Cleveland Clinic gives me the Senna pills. You can buy those from any mass, Walmart, Target, whatever.
So there's pills. I never got the pills. I'm a little jealous on that because they would make me drink them two containers over like a period of time. And during those 3 days, I couldn't eat. I felt like I was dying before the procedure, and the procedure doesn't hurt. And when you wake up, you're like, are we ready to do it? Oh, wait, we already did? Like, it doesn't even bother you, or you don't know anything was even in there. You don't know anything was ever taken out of there. So that doesn't even bother you, your rear end. You're more of like, the rear end is bothering you from the 3-day procedure of dehydrating me and making me shit my brains out. Like, I've got the flu, and I got the water butts, water squirts, and it's not like regular, like literally clear water. And I've never ever in my whole life, other than in a colonoscopy, had pooped water. Like, why am I still drinking this stuff if I'm pooping water? Like, are you just trying to kill me? And that is the colonoscopy.
We had a failed colonoscopy, and so that's when I went to Cleveland Clinic, and they used a pediatric tube, and we do over 3 days. And, with the transhidal pull-up, I only hold a cup of food at a time. So that was very difficult for me. So my motility is very slow. But eventually over 3 days, it does flush out. And the Senna pills basically pushes your bowel stuff in a big movement, and that's your starter.
Okay.
But it works great.
It was like once you got it going, it would just get to going.
Right.
Okay.
And so that was what Cleveland Clinic's recipe was, basically.
So how often would you travel to Cleveland Clinic from Michigan?
I live in Indiana.
Oh, Indiana.
5 hours.
And you would travel to Michigan as well from Indiana.
Yes.
And how often would you do that? And how far is that from you?
Well, we lived in Fort Wayne at the time when I had the transhidal pull-up, and it would be 2 or 3 hours. And I would come to Michigan, to U of M, to Ann Arbor all the time for the support group, for treatments and all of that.
Yeah, and that's quite a travel, especially when you're not well or after a procedure to have to travel back from an outpatient procedure 3 hours or 2.5 hours. Your support system must be huge. Definitely.
It is. And I mean, before I started this whole thing, my children sat on the floor with me, and they said, we want you to be here when we graduate from high school. My youngest was, I think, a freshman in high school, and my son was due to graduate in the spring.
Okay.
And I was gone from my home 6 months. And, I would see the kids, and my husband would travel, had to continue to work.
Right. Life has to still go on regardless of you being sick or not. Bills are still due. The rent is still on the first. The kids still have to graduate. Truancy is real. And one of us can't go to jail for that, who would be here to raise the kids, and you can't go because you're sick. So, they got to go to school.
Life had to go on. And my daughter Sarah, which she was in law school, and so she basically took on. The kids were teenagers, but that's not always a good thing.
No, because it gives them a little more
you
slack
know,
of freedom to go sneak off and do
Yes.
whatever teenagers like to be sneaky about.
Yes, and so, she kind of corralled them and was like, hey, mom's doing this today, that. She continued her schoolwork, and, when I came home from the hospital, I stayed with her in Lansing, and we had a home nurse, and she basically would have her legal stuff all on the walls, her medication stuff up, and she would study, and she just was amazing.
She sounds amazing. Like she pulled it all together and
Yes.
was your savior.
I don't know if she pulled it all together, but she did it.
I don't know, but she did.
She used to come to the support group with me the whole time during the months I was recovering. She came to the support group with me, and everybody knew her. And, if they didn't remember her name, they knew she was my angel.
Aww.
And it's you can't do it without a support group. And the one thing I do remember was, I don't really deserve this, but you do. You have been there for them, and
Yeah, when they return that favor,
you gotta pay back. And she just stepped right up, and we went with it. We went for it.
That's awesome. That bond is it's not going to be something you guys
Yes.
will never forget forever.
Right. And I never really had any depression or really stress or anxiety. I just knew I didn't feel well, and whatever I'm given the opportunity to do, I'm going for it. Because remember, my outlook was less than 5 years when this whole thing started, and in January it'll be 15 years.
See, you've lived 3 times the longer
Right.
than what they suspected. Now I've got a question.
Sure.
What have you done through all of that kept you sane? Like, did you have something that you would go to, like a hobby or a craft or something to keep your mind off of the current situations when you would find your mind like drifting off to those places?
Well, I've sat and cried my husband many times, and he said, you just do whatever you want to do. Find what that is and you do it. And, I'm a sales rep, but I discovered after I was initially sick, my dad, Irish Catholic, had these great pie recipes and fillings, but never could figure out a crust. So a couple years after my husband and I were married, I discovered my mother-in-law had this amazing pie crust that she's keeping from the world. And so she gave me the recipe, and over the years I've tweaked it some, and I started a business.
Okay.
Sophie's Pies and Company. And we basically, went on the farm market tour for years, and everybody was like, can we buy these? I'm like, sure. And I was one of the artisans for Williams-Sonoma, and it just kind of took off from there. It was a hobby.
Right, but when you start with a passion for your hobby and turn your hobby into a business, it's not work, it's pleasure. So even though they're like, oh, you've been working your ass off for years, you're like, I've been enjoying my ass for years. I haven't been working.
You just love every moment.
Yeah. And I'm realizing that now in life.
Yeah. Like I was telling you before, that ended up to be my happy place. If I was stressed or I was like, I don't want to talk to anybody, I would just put my creative side to work.
See, and I'm finding that myself now, and it's taken me years, but I want to be just like you in that. Like, I want my hobbies to become my businesses. So I'm just constantly doing what I like. I don't want to have to feel forced at work, and I don't want to have a schedule to where I can't work around my sicknesses. I don't want to just be recognized as a sickness person. I want to be recognized like as me. You know what I mean? Without the sicknesses.
100%. I know exactly what you're saying.
But what?
The doctors have said, do you feel depressed? Oh, you got a really nice positive outlook. And I do, because I am not going to let this take me down.
Nope.
And when the pandemic came in 2020, I was like, I'm definitely not going out with
Corona.
With coronavirus.
Right. After everything I've been through, Corona ain't taking me out. I'm a survivor. I'm a fighter. I done had this, that, the third, and I've done this. I've had that surgery. I've had this surgery. Ain't no way no little virus can get me. I've had, like,
and it was I recently turned 62, and the whole coronavirus thing was since my stomach is up in my chest. The whole respiratory thing was a huge deal.
Yeah, and your age is a big factor for coronavirus. Yes. It was the older people, they say, anybody over 60, and anybody that was really young, they were worried about at first really severely. And older people that are sick, which was like put a double damper on you, makes a double awareness. So I'm pretty sure during that coronavirus, you had to go through a lot of,
I did.
Being careful and selective on who you would allow around you and who would be in your presence, for sure. I noticed.
I have not seen my granddaughters in New York, since this whole thing started. I'm going to New York in the fall, and can't wait to see them. But but as far as the gastroparesis, like I said, due to the trauma in the stomach, is how, and I don't have diabetes, which is more the traditional path into gastroparesis, but that is 100% what they diagnosed me with. And I was June 15th of this year. They took a look, another scope at the stomach, and she said you have tiny, minuscule bits of food in your stomach. That your system is moving rapidly and it's doing really well, and the bowel movements are every day, and she's like, you're doing amazing.
Yep.
And so that's where I am today.
That is the most positivist news that you could have gotten. Like, that is like almost a 90%, 99%, 90-ish% better than what you've ever started with. And through all of those trials and tribulations, you finally got what works for you, and you're at a good regimen. Sounds like your diet is kind of back to what you're okay with. Not too severe. So that's great. Like, I am so happy to hear that. I wish the best on that. Like, that's awesome.
I mean, I really appreciate that. And, I juice. Juicing just practically saves your life. I don't absorb nutrients. And, but I tend to maintain the weight. And my doctor probably wishes I would lose the 40 pounds. But if I'm healthy at this weight, I'm okay with it. And, I juice. I do the protein smoothies. You pick fruits and we do smoothies. I use the acai as the base. Almond milk, and
so you've implemented a lot of healthy choices, definitely.
Oh, you know what? And I make my own granola, and I make the smoothie bowls. And I'll have chicken. I have salads. I have a huge garden. And it took me a long time to get where I am today. And I don't do any fast food, no canned foods, very little frozen. And so everything, with the pie business and everything's all natural. Basically, as far as alcohol, wine goes, a little iffy here and there. The oncologist and gastro both said, you'll never be able to have a margarita. And basically, Trisha, I created my own margarita mix, and it has an amazing balance. And a little mezcal or a little tequila, I do just fine since I've had the POP.
Okay.
In moderation. Everything in moderation.
Everything in moderation.
And so it's worked for me. If anybody can get any help or any ideas, I would be happy to copy the Gastroparesis Diet that I got from Cleveland Clinic. I would be happy to take any calls.
I would like that, actually. I have a support group, so if you are in there or not in there, I'll get you added in there. And if you could post some of those diet things that you did, or share some of those regimens or recipes, or even some of the information maybe about the medication and what worked for you and what it was called, or some information on it, that would be awesome, because a lot of other GP patients could probably use some of that knowledge. And you've been your journey has probably it's been the best one I've heard, I really feel, because at the end of all of this, you found like the golden light of almost like a cure without saying a cure. But it seems to me like you're pretty much cured, and that is amazing. And I hope that lasts for a very long time or forever.
Like I said, I do the IV infusions. A sodium bag.
You still have to maintain, of course, definitely. But
so
your
hydration is the key. You have to stay hydrated. And
I have Gatorade now. As you say that, I have Gatorade. I've had Gatorade the last 3 days, and I normally don't drink Gatorade, but I've been feeling like Gatorade's been helping me. And then I've never heard anybody say the Gatorade until like you as well. There's a lot of things that I've heard from you that are so different than the average GP patient, but you've also had extreme good care. You also had very good doctors. You also had a very positive mindset through all of this, which those are the things that make a magnificent difference. Your point of view, your perception is extreme. If you don't have good perception, or you're living to die, then you might die because you're living to die and you're okay with dying. Like if you start accepting the negativity, then you become part of it. And you've been able to not be a part of that negativity, even though so many negative things were thrown at you. You've overcome all of those battles and obstacles. And I'm very proud to say that I got to interview you, that and to get your story down, because your story is going to be, I think, something that's going to be changing for a lot of other people. If they can get that information to their doctors, and their doctors are able to, if you want to try it, maybe we can try it. I've never heard of it. I'll look into it. And they might go make a few phone calls between their doctor friends, and the next thing you know, they might have some good comeback or feedback from fellow doctors, and hopefully some current patients could get on this medication and see if it works for them. If everything else they've tried hasn't, then this would be a good try. But if you haven't tried other things yet, this probably wouldn't be covered, and this would be a little longer or further away before it would probably be truly available to you. But if we can get enough people that are truly severely sick to try this, or get their doctors to agree to try it, and the insurance companies to agree to pay it, who knows what the outcomes could be. I mean, if it's worked for you and you've had all of those extreme things happen, on top of the cancer issues, that is way more pressure and stress on the digestive system than GP itself. So you were already going under like manic stuff, craziness. And for your body to work out all that chaoticness while under this medication, I definitely feel like that had a big role. And what the role is pretty much unknown. That's why the doctors were looking in. Did it fix her vagus nerve? Did it do this? Like what did it? And without knowing what did it, it's hard to constantly repeat that same, and get the same outcome. So there'll be a few people that,
right. It's I kind of, my opinion. I think teaching hospitals have the money, have the progressive, the research to do some of this. There are a lot of people that live in a small town or don't have the best insurance or whatever, don't have access to some of these teaching hospitals.
Well, they're new and innovative.
I have benefited from these teaching hospitals, and I've been through 2 experimental surgeries, and I thought, you know what, I don't feel well, I'm not functioning very well, but I always got up and went to work. I always, I cook for my husband, I make something different for me. I mean, sometimes, most of the time, I'll be in the room, but he eats by himself, and I went through a whole food phobia thing, and where smells, and that's where the amend came in. The brain to the gut connection.
Yes.
It kind of shut that, nerving off, and and I take the Zofran every day, and still today, and I also did kind of a trial, which I don't know if you've heard of this or not, but it's the Motilium. And we used to get it from Australia.
Okay.
And it was not approved in America by the FDA.
Okay.
And so you had to fill out all these forms and everything, and basically you're taking on the risk if anything happens.
Correct.
This is what we know. This is what we don't know.
And
the Motilium started moving my stomach. And so, but as far as would any doctor say the vagus nerve is recovered or I'm cured, no, that's never been stated. I'm not a doctor. This whole gray, muddy waters that we're all going through, there's no answers.
Nope, and everybody's case is so different, and just because it works for one person doesn't mean it'll work for the next. It just depends on the case, and there are classifications of cases that fit in certain categories, and the severe category would be where I would look at for what you're discussing. And that medication from Australia, there's some other ones from Canada that are similar as well, but any form of medication from outside of other countries right now, they're coming up with the new innovative stuff, because this disease only for the last 15 years has been around. It hasn't been around forever. We recently got the diagnosis all at that point and then come up with treatment plans. Now we're at the point where we're realizing what treatment plans work and which ones don't. But for the department that don't, we're definitely looking for something new, and we're outsourcing. And I say outsourcing because other countries, their FDAs don't have to go through all these 4-year-long, clinical trials or 5-year-long or 10-year-long. So even if they came up with a cure today, United States, we would not actually be eligible for that cure until it was released from the FDA to the general public, or if you participated in one of those clinical studies, which means that you only have that one disease, because most people that have multiple diseases cannot participate in certain clinical studies. So you have to outsource to other countries like Australia or Canada, who already has this medication on the market and is currently using it and treating people with it and have found the value and the asset in it. Where FDA is here in America, oh, well, we see it's working in Australia, in the UK, and in Europe. And, so what we'll do? We'll go ahead and try it over here, and in 10 years, we'll let some patients have it. Well, in 10 years, they're already come up with 5 new treatment plans. By the time you're ready to release their old information and knowledge, that they're already on to new things that are actually working even better than the stuff you're pulling on the market today. So in order for us to keep up, that's where those medical schools that you discussed, because they're getting educated on the current technology, and that's why they're doing these clinical studies, because they're trying to get them out there. So during that 10-year limbo land while we're waiting for it to be dropped, it is available at medical schools of learning, hospitals that participate
absolutely.
in the education process, because somebody has to be a form of a guinea pig for the FDA in order for it to be released. So if you register here or you go through it here at these hospitals, you can get qualified services that aren't actually available to the full public either, like the surgery she discussed, but you have to be willing to take those chances because we don't have enough science behind in America. But if you do your research in these other countries, there's a lot more science behind it. And if you put all of that science together, then you might be able to make like a better decision before determining if you will or won't like outsource to other country medication. You know, I know I've had friends outsource, and I've had friends that were scared to outsource because the things that they heard about the medication, and they weren't as severe as those patients yet, so they were still like, I'm still scared to try it. I don't want to do it. But then some people are like, I'm so severe, I'm willing to try anything, just give it to me. And those are the people that it actually works for most of the time, are the ones that are so severe, because once your body has tried most of Americans' options and it hasn't worked, you're in that other class, whether you kind of realize it or not. You're in that class of needing something extra where just America is not at, or with the FDA yet. So you're looking at clinical studies, you're looking at clinical trials, you're looking at outsourcing to Canada, to Australia, to UK. Those are our 3 top outsources for GP medication that have good options right now. But they're good options for that class of people that, I wouldn't just jump right from like, hey, I got a GP diagnosis and I've never done anything, let's just outsource. You know what I mean? Like, I would.
Yeah. And then I did this. Exactly. I mean, you have to become your own advocate.
Definitely. And figure out where the meds are.
That is what you got to do your own research. The POP surgery is online. You can see it. The transhiatal pull-up is online. You can see it from the University of Michigan. And anyway, but then with this motilium, they kind of took that off the market because America approved through the FDA Motegrity. And the Motegrity wasn't really my issue. I took it for about 6 months or less, and it didn't help me. But
so now that you had tried that, though, could you get the other one covered under a prior authorization showing that you tried their brand and it wasn't working and that you wanted to switch back to that other option because it was working?
So since I've had the POP surgery, I don't take the Amend anymore. I don't take the Motegrity. I don't take the Motilium. And I have very little food as of, in June, just a few weeks ago. And she said, you're doing great. But if I fall off the wagon and I do any fast food or I start eating red meat, it's not going to digest. So I'm good with where I'm at as far as diet-wise.
Yeah, so staying on your diet's going to be your savior for sure.
Yes. And, I can have, I make almost my own stuff. I make my own butter. Butter's really easy to make in the KitchenAid mixer. You basically pour heavy cream in there and beat it with the whipping until it becomes a solid.
Mm-hmm.
And with that whipping cream that ends, once your butter becomes a solid, you squeeze out the butter, tap it dry, bottle it, put it in a container, whatever you do. And that liquid that's left is buttermilk. Mm-hmm. You have taken out all of the fat.
Awesome. To have that, to be able to do those things and cook the way that you can cook can actually change your diet as well, because you're not getting all the genetically modified food or HGMOs or hormones or any of that stuff that is added, or even the stuff that they use to preserve the food. None of those preservatives are added as well. So, it seems like you found what works for you and you're on a great mission. I'm happy to hear that. I got another question about your support system. If they were listening and you could thank them for everything that they've helped you through, what would you say to your support system?
I would say that things have not always been easy for my husband. Like I said, we've been married 40 years, and um, he's always here. He's very supportive. Um, he was never once, Trisha, don't do this. Something might happen to you and I would be alone. That has never once been said.
That's amazing.
You do what you need to do. My daughter, Sarah, is amazing. She's a lawyer in New York, and she's accomplished a lot in her life, and she has a very wonderful husband that supports her. And, he's a lawyer too, and we have 2 grandchildren, and I could not have done this if it had not been for Sarah and all of her support. And, my son, Andrew, they live here in the Indianapolis area, and that's our new grandbaby. Him and his wife,
Okay.
Have been supportive. And he's a busy guy, raising his new family, and that's what I want for him. And I have this amazing young daughter that lives in Atlanta, Megan, and she was the youngest and has been around for the most of this. For the most part, been to every surgery. Here's me every day. I had bile, this and that. And, when I told the girls that I was going to do this podcast, I said I was nervous, and they were like, that's amazing. What are you going to talk about? I said, well, basically my journey. They were both very supportive. And it's an amazing feeling.
It is, especially to have children that have been raised.
It kind of chokes me all up because I got good kids, and
yeah, it sounds like they've been raised very well and very respectable, and that they fully understand your battle, and that they've been your saving grace, like you said, like your angels. If they were listening, what would you say to them?
I would just say that I love them with all my heart, and that I couldn't do this life without them.
Aww. I'm sorry. It's sad. I know. They've been there, though, it seems like, for everything, which is so important, because our support system, they don't really realize how much they mean to us, and how being that supportive person can change the battle, like, from night or day.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's kind of what helps save you, is a good support system, when you feel like even if this goes wrong, it's still going to be okay, like, because they've got me.
Well, that's right. They're accepting me for who I am. And, I, with all my flaws, and,
that's family
I've been sick
right
a long
there.
Time.
That's family.
I've been sick a long time, and they have been very supportive. And I do whatever I can for them. All they ever have to do is ask, and they know that. And, they're great people. They're great people, and I'm very proud of all of them.
Oh, I'm sure they're very proud of you, too, and the battles you've overcome. That's been a blessing.
My oldest daughter has lupus, and so she has her own struggle, and, she hopefully doesn't have any gastro issues moving forward in her life. But, she's learned a lot. She's supportive. She would go to the doctor's appointments with me, and I honestly could not have done it without her. And, my other 2 were young at the time. They were teenagers.
Yeah. There was only so much that they could physically actually do as well. But they also, made a lot of sacrifices, I'm pretty sure, during those trials and tribulations.
Yes. Well, and, the mom of a family being absent for 6 months is huge. It's traumatic for them.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's times we talk about all of this, and we're like, wow, I can't believe all this happened. And, in January, and it will be 15 years. And I said, I think we ought to have a party.
You should. You should. It is definitely something
Yeah,
to celebrate, and to be 15 years and still here when you were only told you could have 5 is
right,
amazing, and it is something to definitely celebrate, the living life, and being able to say that you'll be here another 5 for sure. You know what I mean? Like,
right,
that's a guarantee right
right.
now. So 15-year party, a 20-year party, a 30-year party. Let's just keep a partying until we make it to 100. And I don't know how old you'll be when 100
Right.
years pass, because they're already so in your age now. So, but that's the goal. That's what we live for, is to try to live as long as we possibly can with our family and make those great
Right.
memories. So if
Yeah.
somebody was
Yeah.
listening that is kind of going through some of the similar situations, or kind of just feeling like they're going to give up and that they're just not going to live those extra 5 years that were, or 10 years or 15, like they're worried they're not going to make it even 5. What would you say to them to try to let them know that they could?
Well, I'm a firm believer in don't accept no as an answer. Um, this is America, and unless your insurance binds you, you have to stay in your state or something. Um, the teaching hospitals, like I said earlier, are very progressive. They have research dollars. I cannot say anything more about the University of Michigan. Fantastic place. Um, Dr. Mark Oringer was the one who did my transhydropull-thoracic oncologist. And he said to me one day, "You're my youngest patient." And I said, "Doctor, I can't possibly be your youngest patient." I was 48 years old. And he literally came to see me every day for 28 days in the hospital. And he's like, "We will do our part. You have to do yours. And I expect you to do yours." And everybody that's out there listening, I expect you to do your part. You can do this. You have to go find the help. You cannot give up.
Definitely. Your part is very important. I never looked at it like
Right.
that. But after hearing you say that, yes, your part. And if you don't
Yeah.
do your part and also try to be happy while doing your part mentally,
Yeah.
then you're going to fail if you're not going to bring your A game to the table, but you want the doctors to bring
Right.
their A game. It's a team effort
Right.
with this disease. And
You
your
know, and
diet
it's
is a big, big, big part. And that's where your effort plays the most role in changing that effort.
well, yes, and if you like I said, if you would like, somehow I can get the Gastroparesis diet. The dietitians are not covered by the insurance.
No, I've actually tried to get one myself recently as well, and they're not fully covered
Yes.
unless you're on the
Yes.
feed-in tube. But at that point, we don't need a dietitian. We're getting our food through a tube.
Yeah.
There's really
And,
not much dietary needed for that. Whether how many milligrams, how many should I drink today? 1 Ensure, 5 Ensures, like 3 Ensures in there. Like how many gallons or cc's do I need? Like, other than that, there's really not much, where we could use so much more nutritional help in those prior
Yes.
phases, so we don't have to get those feed-in tubes. That would
Right.
definitely be something the insurance companies should look more into, because paying for those would actually save money in the long run, because it's more money for feed-in tubes with a dietitianary than no feed-in tube and just the dietitianary. Like, you're cutting that bill in half.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I would
I
definitely.
drink the protein milk. I drink the protein drinks. I did the protein powder for a while, and you put it in your smoothie. You don't even taste it. The Amend, the Motilium helped me with that food phobia, because even though you're vomiting and you are hungry, you have the desire to eat, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's not going to stay down. And
yeah, just like the flu. Like when people have the flu, they're like,
you have all this bacteria in your body, one infection to the next.
Correct.
And, and you have zero motivation, but you literally, you got to hydrate. You have to do it.
Yes, especially when your body's being attacked.
Headache, you get the dizziness, you get the blurred vision, and that's because you're dehydrated. And, people die from dehydration. And like I said, the Cleveland Clinic, G2 Gatorade, teaspoon of
So you said
iodized
G2
salt.
Gatorade?
Yes, that's what Cleveland Clinic told me.
I'm going to look into
G2
that.
Gatorade.
I'm drinking G0 Gatorade. I don't know what G2
I
is.
asked Dr. Kirby
but I'm going to look
that.
into
I said,
that.
it's hard to find the G2 anymore.
I'll order it online.
Zero, and he said, don't drink the zero. Order the G2. Get it from wherever you need.
I'm going to follow that and try that, because even when you're dehydrated, your organs can shut down, and if your organs already shut down with it, which is basically what GP is any form of dehydration is going to cause a flare even more, because it's going to cause your organs to start to shut down even more. So that makes logical sense. I've never really thought about it like that or focused so much on my hydration. But I definitely think over the next couple months, that's going to be like my new focus
Try. I mean, it's really nothing that can hurt you.
No, and everybody can learn something. Like, you never know.
Dr. Kirby said this is the formula they use for dehydrated children in Africa.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay. I didn't really put a whole lot of credence in it, and I started doing it, and literally I started to eat and feeling better. The vomiting stopped, and I was like, this is amazing.
Well, yeah, that makes sense though, too, because if you pump your organs with fluids, then your organs will go back to work, and if they started shutting down from dehydration, once they go back to work, and they'll generally pick up where they left off and do what they're supposed to be doing, which is what they're not doing when they're dehydrated. So it definitely makes sense. I'm definitely going to stay hydrated this summer, that's for sure.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. And I also, Cleveland Clinic, Dr. Kirby put me on Drip Drop. I don't know if you're familiar. And it has all of the electrolytes. It's a little pricey. The only place I have ever found that you can buy it is Walgreens.
Okay. Drip Drops. And how do you consume that? Do you put that in your beverage?
It's a tube and powder, and you just put it in a 16 ounce of water, in a bottle of water.
Okay.
Shake it up, drink it, and I think is behind this Drip Drop product, because they say it's the best on the market with all the electrolytes, and he recommends it to all of his patients from the gut and rehabilitation.
So Drip Drop and G2 Gatorade. Those are going to be something I'm going to try, and I'm definitely going to get hydrated because I definitely need that. So I appreciate this interview so much. No, go ahead.
There are foods that take away your hydration. And watermelon. The year that I diagnosed with gastroparesis, I ate watermelon all the time. Watermelon smoothies. I made popsicles. I put strawberries, fruit, everything in popsicles, and that's how I That's how Cleveland Clinic said you rehydrate yourself.
Okay, so that's a little more good information. I'm definitely going to try some of those. I definitely want to get more interested in a nutritionist. I was looking into that, maybe trying to get an appointment in before November or October comes. I want to get in, and when the kids go back to school in September, I kind of want to start like a whole new diet there, but I'm not really sure what to go on.
And it's hard with kids.
It is.
Kids like to go to McDonald's. Kids like to junk it. They're healthy. They burn
Husbands
it off.
love all that. Like my hubby is the hardest. He's the out to eat king at that. Like he is an out to eat person for sure.
Well, I spent a couple of years where I didn't go out to eat, and you don't feel a little isolated in that. But, there are times where I would say, I'm going to have this appetizer, or I'll...
To cheat every once in a while is okay. I mean, to cheat on your diet every once in a while is okay, like here and there.
Right, and, Randall and I we like to brunch. It's early in the day. I don't eat anything after 7 o'clock at night. I really eat dinner between 2 and 4.
Okay.
Because my motility is so slow that with the gastroparesis that, I don't eat late in the day.
Those are very good tips that we should definitely kind of start to implement.
I started making sourdough bread during the pandemic. Started my own sourdough starter because I could never eat bread. And the live bacteria from the sourdough bread is amazing movement in my stomach.
Oh, okay. I used to make homemade bread years ago, and it never really bothered me, but real bread does as well.
Oh, yeah, I can't, it's garbage.
Yeah.
It's all chemicals anymore.
And I use, the self-rising yeast when I do it, and, just with some simple flour.
But the sourdough, if you research it, it can be very complicated to make a starter. It's live bacteria, and you have to feed it.
Yeah, I don't know how to do the sourdough one. I just made, the basic bread.
Yes.
And to even be able to do that for me, for people that know me that I don't cook. So for me to be able to make certain, I can make certain dishes, but my husband is the real chef in this house. He cooks down Southern meals, the whole grains, the, macaroni and cheese, all the good stuff, eggplant pies, pecan pies, pumpkin pie, all the good stuff.
Yeah, I need to talk to him.
Yeah, I just eat some of the stuff he makes or try to, and those are when I break all diet rules. And then
sometimes you pay for that.
Oh, we always do. But yeah, we eat a lot more. I notice for me, processed food tends to be a little more better for my body because it doesn't spoil as fast. To where I don't get as many infectious. But I want to try to get on the healthy diet, and I want to see a nutritionist, and I want to try to get, because my kidneys, I notice every day, because I've got kidney disease as well, my feet are so swollen.
So do I. I only have one. I only have one functioning kidney.
Yeah, I was like that for a long time, but I have chronic kidney disease stage 3 right now.
I'm stage 2. I was only born with one.
Okay. Yeah, I had some medical issues with my kidneys as well as a child, but that's a whole nother podcast.
That's a whole nother.
Yeah, but I definitely would like to get to know you more, and I would maybe like a follow up to see if things continue to go so smoothly for you. I would like to hear that. That's good news. Those are good podcasts.
I talk via email with Stacy from Cleveland Clinic all the time. I would highly recommend if you could get a referral to Cleveland Clinic. They have an amazing facility. Their research dollars, Dr. Klein is booked, and they say once you come to Cleveland Clinic, you will always be a patient. If you need us, we're here.
That's good.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter if you change doctors or any of that other stuff, you're always able to come back.
No, I still have my gastro here in Indianapolis, and I have an amazing family doctor. She's an internist here in Indianapolis, and Dr. Marla Current. Her ability to analyze what's going on and refer me out has been amazing for me. And Dr. Toya James Stevenson, gastro for IU Health. She pegged this from the beginning without a doubt, and my recovery has just kind of spiraled from there. She's willing to work with anybody. She's the one that referred me to Cleveland Clinic. And Trisha, I could have taken the palliative route. And that's easier for the insurance company.
No, but you advocated for yourself and you got exactly what you needed,
right,
and you benefited from it
right.
fully because you did what you felt was needed for you, not the insurance company. So anybody who is seeking...
Dr. Rodriguez for the POP surgery, I think by now they've done something like 1,100 of them.
Oh.
I don't know if my stats are right or not,
but that's still quite a bit. So that's closer to...
So the gastroparesis patients are going to see him. And
yeah, so I advise anybody looking.
Yes. All the time about this. And Dr. Rodriguez was on some fellowship in the Middle East in Dubai, and he was like, "Here's my email if you need me."
See, that's a good doctor. So when I leave the country, you can still get a hold of me.
I'll get my staff. One of my associates will see you.
See?
And
that's great.
Yeah.
I definitely think people need more care like that. And the fact that they've done almost 1,100 now is good. So anybody who's looking to be able to participate in those options or treatment plans, definitely get your doctor to refer you, or get on the phone and see if you can get an appointment in there and figure out how to do that for sure. And
I don't really know how that process goes, but like I said, my doctor was an advocate for me, and she just was like, if you want to do this, let's do it. And I cannot thank her enough.
Yes. So in the future, if anybody would like to find Susan and find out more information about this program that she's participated in, or get any more information, she will be in our support group as well. Sprinkle some love with a cause. It has the support group in front of it, so it says support. It's not the actual page. That's separate. If anybody who's also looking for the link, it's in every podcast at the bottom. The support group is listed as there, as well as the Facebook page, and it'll be in this podcast once it's posted. So in the future, look for Susan there. And would you like to leave your Facebook page, so if anybody would like to message you, they could find you on Facebook?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not overly socially. I have an Instagram, and just Susan Stepanek.
Can you spell your last name for them?
Stepanek is spelled Stepanek.
Okay.
And you can message me at Sophie's Pies if you would like, and wherever. So
yeah. Do you have a website for your Sophie's Pie?
I do.
Would you like to tell us?
Sophie.net.
Okay. Yes, definitely. I would be interested in even getting some pies from you.
Oh, hey. We do. Well, our motto at Sophie's Pies is what home should taste like. And we believe in order on demand, all natural, no preservatives, and you should be able to eat whatever you want.
Yes.
And whatever epidemic we have going with gastroparesis, all the fast food, all the preservatives.
Some healthy pies might just be what a gal needs, for sure.
Yeah.
And no preservatives is a bonus. I definitely agree. So we should head on over to Sophie's Pie and get one of those fabulous pies. And once I get my hands on one, I'll definitely be posting it, because I definitely plan on ordering one. I've got to try this.
Well, yeah, we're suspended till after November.
Well, I'll be waiting.
All the pandemics and everything, and
I'll be waiting. I'll be in line.
Yeah. There you go.
Yes. Well, thank you.
I'm willing to talk to anybody. It's a daily journey, and the key is you have to take care of yourself. You got to have a happy place, and if you're not feeling well, no one else is going to take care of you but you.
Correct. And no one can love you better than you. So that is for sure.
And God bless everybody.
Yes, God bless everybody, for sure. And I appreciate you coming on, Susan, and I appreciate your time. And I've been blessed enough to be able to interview you and get your story, and that alone is a blessing for me. I appreciate it.
Well, I think, Trisha, the work you're doing is amazing.
Aww.
I think everybody needs it, and you probably don't give yourself enough credit.
I probably don't, but it's a passion I like of mine. So kind of like what you said,
Yeah.
you don't look at it as work because it's something you enjoy and it's something I know so well about that I don't really have to get so prepared because I've been
Right.
through these battles. So it's like it's easy to talk about them. I have like similar experiences, so I really don't need notes or studying, and it's kind of like just comes natural. So I am loving what
You
I'm
have a nice
doing.
podcast voice.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I appreciate you. And until next time on Sprinkle Some Love with a Cause, I appreciate you. And bye, everyone.